Both my wife Ellie and her twin sister Karen had been unfaithful the whole time I've known them. They actually switched husbands for an occasional night for sex for years without my or Ken's knowledge or permission. Ken is Karen's husband. It's been a difficult 3 weeks, and your support and advice has been invaluable. The situation has gotten worse and worse. I didn't mention Karen's husband's name in the last post. His name is Ken, and he is 36 years old. First, to those of you who are doubtful my story is real, I wish it was not. I wish it was fiction. This has been devastating for me and Ken. Much of the criticism that I've received in the comments was about what I did and didn't do at Santa Fe and in the hotel. The night I was with Ellie in the car. Some said I should have thrown Ellie out of my rental car at the resort. How was I supposed to drag her out? By her hair? Knock her unconscious? There were people around. They would have intervened. Maybe someone would have called the cops. Well, I guess I could have gotten in the driver's side quickly and locked the door, but it is what it is. Another criticism was that I shouldn't have let Ellie in my room or had dinner with her at the hotel. I should have told the receptionist she was stalking me. What was the receptionist going to do? Call the manager? What was the manager going to do? I wasn't going to start a big fight with her in the lobby of the restaurant or the hotel. People wouldn't do anything unless we created disturbance or it got physical. Ellie is an attorney. If anyone told her she couldn't do this or had to do that, she'd give them a chapter and a verse about how they were violating her civil rights or her property rights or any other thing. She told them what she's going to sue you for. Ellie pulled this crap once in a restaurant. We were still waiting for our table 15 minutes after the time we made the reservation. Ellie went up to the host to complain. She told them that she was an attorney and was going to sue everyone in the restaurant. The host said things are going a little slower. People aren't getting up from the tables as quickly as they usually do. You can always tell about someone's personality with how they are with people in the service business. Ellie looked at her watch. I told her to stop it. She was embarrassing herself and me. The host came back and led us to our table. Ellie glanced to her watch again, smiled at me, and said less than a minute. She would have done the same or more in the hotel lobby. If the police showed up for some unimaginable reason and told her she had to leave me alone after 2 minutes listening to her, they probably would have told me that they were going to arrest me if I kept unsettling this wonderful woman. I solved the problem the next morning. I trapped her in the hotel room. I took all her stuff. I missed the first flight out of Santa Fe at 6:30 a.m. the next morning, so I sat at the airport for over 2 hours waiting for the 10 a.m. flight. If I hadn't taken everything from Ellie, except her bra, she would have caught up with me at the airport and waited to get on that plane with me. It is now about 3 weeks since I left Ellie in the hotel room in Santa Fe. Let me bring you up to date. Both of the twins Ellie and Karen still live with me. I can't legally remove them, so I decided to take a more active approach of getting rid of them. I thought about how to make things as difficult as I can for them. I changed the access password for our home router, so no more internet for these two and no TV for them. I watch stuff on my laptop. It's the middle of summer and very hot. Before leaving for work, I open the fuse box and switch off the fuses for the air conditioner and hot water heater. She may be able to get her way into a restaurant, but good luck with her trying to figure out how to turn that on. I turn the AC and hot water back on when I get home. I put a padlock on the closet that houses the fuse box so no one has access but me. During the week, Karen is the only one home. Maybe the heat and no hot water will encourage her to move out. When they ask why I have internet and they don't, and why the AC and hot water isn't working, I tell them they should find a better place to live. They can't do anything about what I've done but complain, or they can just move out. One of the services we offer at our computer company is installing cameras. Customers buy these to protect their server rooms from disgruntled employees or intruders. I wanted cameras in my house. I wanted to see the exchange between Ellie and Karen, but more important, I need a record of their interactions with me. If things get ugly, Ellie has a witness to say I did this or I did that bad thing. Karen will say anything her sister wants her to say. I told the tech that does the camera stuff for our customers what I wanted. He asked me to describe what was in those locations. We spent some time going over where and how to hide the cameras. He said give him a day and he'd come up with a plan. He put in cameras 2 days later when Ellie was at work and Karen was visiting with her kids. The feed goes to my office computer at work and the cloud. I can access the video from home. The cameras are always recording. The tech is getting a raise. I've been watching the cameras recording a couple of things of interest. Karen asked Ellie if she'd heard from the guy from the resort in New Mexico. Ellie said she blocked him, but he called into her work a few days later after Ellie talked to his wife. Ellie said he was furious. He said he and Ellie had a pact that if one of the spouses found out about the cheating, they would not inform the other spouse under any circumstances. He hung around in the lobby of the resort trying to talk to Ellie and then called her to remind her of the pact, to make sure his adultery didn't get back to his wife. Ellie broke their agreement and told his wife. She threw him out. He's in an at-fault divorce state and his wife will take him to the cleaners. Alimony, child support, she's gonna get the house. He'll be able to see his kids, but that's it. He asked how Ellie could do that to him. How could Ellie tell his wife? Karen asked Ellie what she told him. Ellie said she told him the same thing she told him as Santa Fe. F off, and she hung up. Another conversation started with one of them regretting how stupid they were to cheat on their husbands. The other one saying both their lives were a wreck. Their husbands despised them. How could they have been so stupid or so foolish? They both loved their husbands and what they did was horrible. They learned their lesson and would always be faithful if only their husbands would forgive them. Blah blah. I guarantee if we took them back, they would go back to their old tricks. Soon the blame started. One would say that she did it only because the other was doing it. The other one said that her twin egged her on. If not for her sister, she would never have cheated. It was the other one's fault that her life was a mess. No, it was your fault. This got pretty heated, blaming each other for getting the other one into hot water. Their blame shifting went on for a while. When blaming each other became too heated, or they had nothing more to say, they'd stop talking and one would say something like, "It sure was fun though," and the other would say it sure was. They would laugh and laugh. This discussion was repeated 3 times on different days. Ken and I've been talking regularly, keeping up with each other and providing what support we can. I am getting divorced. I'm not even considering reconciling with Ellie. I want her out of my life. Ken and Karen have 2 small children, a 3-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy. It is not easy for him. There are logistical issues for him dealing with the kids. He needs to work, but the children need to be cared for while he's at work. They need feeding and hydrating. He's been relying on his parents, but things are hard for him. Listening to his life now, I have a new appreciation for all single parents. He's allowed Karen to take up more of the slack. Karen was a full-time housewife and only a part-time cheater. She's thrilled to step back in. Better than sitting at home in my house all day and waiting for Ken to call and yell at her. Yes, she sees this as a way to try and save the marriage. I hope not, but she may be right. I think Kenneth is so exhausted, he might give in and take her back. Ken also got a DNA test for his 2 children. He wanted to see if he was their father. A good question given his wife's sex adventures. Ken called me at work and asked if he could come by my house to talk to his wife. He wanted to talk in person. He didn't want to be alone with her. He wanted me to be a witness. He left the kids with his parents and would be there by 7 p.m. He sounded very upset on the phone. I of course agreed. The 4 of us sat in my living room. I told Ellie she didn't need to be here. She said she was Karen's attorney and was there to represent her. Anytime she can turn on the lawyer card to make herself feel strong and powerful, she will. Ken opened some paperwork he brought. He looked at his wife and announced that their daughter wasn't his. He wasn't her father. The paper had the DNA results and there wasn't any chance he fathered the daughter. Karen became pale, fell back in the seat, and fainted. Not a fake faint. Literally fainted. I had never seen anyone as distraught as Ken. Karen revived, remembered what happened, and just started sobbing. Ellie demanded to see the tests. He handed them to her. She said at least the younger boy was Ken's. I thought, congratulations, Ken. One of your kids is actually yours. Should we give Karen a medal? Karen looked like a ghost. Ken asked who the father was. Karen shook her head and said it wasn't possible. Ken was the father. Ken yelled, "We got the results right here. I don't care how many times you say and try to convince yourself." She said she always used protection. Ellie looked at Karen and asked if she ever got so carried away and didn't use protection. Karen said she never got that carried away. She was too afraid of STDs. She couldn't explain an STD to her husband. She then went even paler than before. She said the only person she didn't use condoms with was me. Karen knew that Ellie and I never used condoms. Ellie has a IUD. When Ellie and Karen switched husbands for a night, we couldn't pull out a condom. I would say, what the hell, and their game would be up. Karen said that I couldn't be the father. The last time she spent the night with me, she was already pregnant with her daughter. The time before that was before Ken and Karen were even trying to get pregnant. Karen said she knew it was the last time they've been able to switch husbands, and she waited until she knew she was pregnant before sleeping with me. Karen was off birth control, so she would never have taken the chance to get pregnant by someone other than Ken. Since she was already pregnant, there was no risk of impregnating her. She wanted at least one last adventure with me before her life changed forever. She and Ellie switched the day after she found out that she was pregnant. She repeated that the DNA test had to be wrong. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was discussing cheating on her husband and deceiving me like she was talking about going to lunch with a friend. Like it's all a big game. They have no moral compass. Ken asked how she knew she was pregnant. She said a drugstore pregnancy test. Ken asked me if I had my laptop. He wanted to see if they were ever wrong. He Googled the question about false positives on pregnancy tests. It turns out that they give a false positive about 1% of the time. It'd be hard depending on the time of day it was taken. Ken asked why she didn't have her doctor confirm the pregnancy. Karen said when she found out she was pregnant, she called the doctor and made an appointment, but she had to wait 10 days. Her doctor confirmed that she was pregnant. Ellie and I were sitting stone-faced during all of this. The last thing I wanted was to be a father. Ellie knew that this wasn't anything good. I was trying to figure out how I could disappear into thin air. Ken asked if I would take a DNA test and how soon could I do that. I replied that trying to figure out the father was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. She probably effed half the guys in our city. Between the two of them, probably all the guys in our city. Condoms break and it could be anyone's. Ken said if I take the test that could at least rule me out. It sounded like I was the father. Ken wanted to know, will I take the test? I told Ken I need to think about it. I didn't tell them that I really wanted to talk to my attorney about this before I agreed to anything. Ken asked me why I just can't take the test. Instead of answering him, I asked him what difference did it make? Is it better that he knew he wasn't the father? What if it had turned out that I was the father of his daughter? Was he going to bring her here and dump her off with me? Was he going to disown her and have me raise her? He said I'm her father regardless of who the biological father is. Ken looked at me and said that he'd never give up on his daughter. If anyone tried to take her away from him, he'd fight tooth and nail for her. He just wanted to know if I was the father. Would I take the DNA test? I told him that I need to think about it, and I would let him know. He said fair enough, and he left the house. Ellie walked over to me and asked what I planned to do. I told her to get the F away from me and keep her piece of S sister away from me too. They went to their rooms and I called my attorney and left a message to call me first thing in the morning. It was an emergency. When he called the next morning, I told him that we had to meet as soon as we can. We set a meeting for 3:30 that afternoon. I had some things I had to do in the office, but called my father and told him that I needed to talk. He said to come to the house. When I got to his place, he asked me what's up. I told him there's a good chance he's a grandfather and explained the situation. He had disbelief and said, "You're not considering taking Ellie back, are you?" I told him not in a million years. He said, "Good. You didn't raise a fool." He told me to call my lawyer and see what was my liability. I told him I had an appointment that afternoon. He said if I decide to take the test and it turned out I was the father, I should think about what kind of relationship I wanted with a daughter. I met with my attorney and we went over 3 things. So here we go. I told him that I wanted to give him a hypothetical situation. What if a twin sister was trapped in a hotel room without her ID and used her twin's driver's license to get on a plane? He asked if I was talking about my wife and her sister. I said it was all hypothetical, not anyone I knew. Would he use it to move along a divorce and get more favorable terms? He said his advice would be to save that information and use it only if needed later. It will make things ugly and ugly real quick. Number 2. I told him that I couldn't get Ellie out of the house or to agree to divorce. I couldn't get her sister to leave, and it looks like that there's little chance that her husband will take her back, especially now that he found out that his daughter is not his. My lawyer said let's give it another month. If she doesn't move out, we'll file with the court to begin the divorce process. He said that I should understand that she'll protest and tell the court she wants to reconcile. Who knows what the judge will say? Generally, they like the idea of reconciliation. They might order marriage counseling. Regardless, Ellie can delay the divorce. Not forever, but for a while. I told him, I can't stand living with Ellie and her sister anymore. I think I should move. He asked if I could take it for another month. Keep trying to persuade them to leave. Number 3. The best for last. I explained the situation about the twins trading husbands. There's a very good chance I'm the father of Karen's daughter. Do I have to take a DNA test? If I'm the father of their daughter, what's my liability? He said, let me see if he has this right. My sister-in-law slept with me pretending to be Ellie. I noted yes. She got pregnant also without my knowledge or consent while deceiving me. Is that right? I nodded yes. He said she's liable criminally and civilly. So is my wife, but pursuing charges isn't worth it. It'll be hard to prove. They could just say that I knew what was going on. He also said that there is nothing making you take the DNA test. He said he would draft something for Karen and Ken to sign. It would say that I would agree to a DNA test, but only if they sign an agreement stating the facts surrounding Karen and Ellie's bed hopping and Karen's pregnancy. We wanted all of that on record. It would also stipulate that I was free of any and all claims monetarily or in any way to support the daughter. We could also put that the nature of the relationship between me and the daughter will be a mutual consent by all three parties: Ken, Karen, and me. Whatever sort of relationship I want with the girl. I have to negotiate that with my in-laws. I told him to draft the agreement. I told Ken I'd take the test if he and Karen agreed to sign the agreement. They agreed, and then Ellie said she wanted to see the agreement before her sister signs. Ken told her to butt out. Karen told Ellie it was okay. Anything her husband wanted, we would sign in my lawyer's office. As soon as they signed, I told Karen that she just signed a document admitting to criminal fraud. I asked my attorney to take it to the proper authorities for prosecution. I told her that also I am suing her for damages. Karen was instrumental in the destruction of my marriage and the resulting pain and suffering caused. Both Ken and Karen were stunned. You can probably guess what Karen did next. She started crying, of course. I told them I would hold off if Karen left my house immediately. Karen was gone from the house that afternoon. One down, one to go. When I got home, Ellie told me she wanted to see the agreement Karen signed. I told her that Karen had admitted to criminal acts and implicated Ellie. I told her that I decided to report Ellie's criminal acts to the Bar Association, her boss, and my attorney. I told her I'll hold off if she moved out. Ellie again asked to see what Karen signed. She read it over and smiled. She said it proved nothing. Karen signed this to please her husband, and she didn't admit to anything. If I pushed this, Ellie would say exactly that I knew about the husband swapping from the beginning and went along with it. It'd be my word against the two of theirs. Ellie handed the document back to me and finished by telling me she's not leaving. Ellie said I didn't have to worry about Karen coming back. My threat worked on her. Karen was back living with Ken, but just as a housekeeper and nanny. Ken said he was still divorcing her, but she could stay at her house in her room and take care of the kids. Karen was thrilled. She had a foot in the door. At least I didn't have to turn off the air conditioner and hot water in the morning anymore. It was hot when I got home and takes too long to cool the house. So as promised, I took the DNA test. Congratulations to me. I'm a dad. If nothing happens in the next month, I'll move in with my father while I look for a permanent place. This will be my final update. Ellie finally gave me the ammunition to get her out of my house and on the road to divorce. I've been spending a lot of time with my father. He thought also I should be glad that I found out about Ellie now and not have wasted another 10 years or more with her. I'm still young, and I told him that it doesn't make things easier. He also divorced a cheating wife. My mother. He says it does get better with time. My dad asked me if I wanted to keep the townhouse. I said I didn't have the money to buy Ellie out, so we have to sell it. But do I want to keep it if I could, he said. He said he'll loan me the money to buy Ellie out. He's not going to give me the money. There's a better way than paying a gift tax. He can loan me the money at 1% interest per year. A 30-year loan with a balloon at the end. Interest only until then. When he dies, the loan will be forgiven and it won't be enough for the inheritance tax to kick in. My father and I haven't talked a lot about my biological daughter. This is the daughter that I have with Ellie's sister Karen, who I impregnated without knowing. My father has started a college fund for her. I won't marry again, so my father sees her as the only grandchild he'll ever have. Until my relationship with Ken improves, neither my father or I have contact with her. On to the main event. Ellie finally effed up, and I'm going to get my divorce now. Ken now believes I knew about the wife switching. I think they're hinting to him that I knew. They want to drive a wedge between us. One other thing that was brought up in the comments was if I've told Ellie's parents about her and Karen's infidelity. I haven't, because it is a complete waste of time, and here's why. Ellie's parents are local. Ellie and Karen grew up here. I met them when Ellie and I started dating seriously. I was invited to dinner one night. Ellie's father greeted me like I was a neighbor that he might wave at or he might occasionally talk to, with no interest in me at all. The mother was all dressed up as if she was going out. Ellie, her father, and I were in shorts. At dinner, Ellie's mother didn't eat. She just had a glass of wine. Her mother talked about how proud she was of Ellie. She was a lawyer, had a real profession. She also thought Ellie would marry a doctor or a lawyer, a profession like Ellie. She asked me what I do. I said I work for my father. Her mother asked if I had any ambition besides just being someone's employee. So already Ellie and her sister Karen have had it put in their heads that they're amazing and so special. Fortunately, we were interrupted by the doorbell ringing. Ellie's father got up and went to the den and turned on the TV. He didn't finish dinner, didn't say anything, just started watching TV. I've never seen anything like that before. Ellie went to the door, and came a man about her parents' age, all dressed up to go out. Ellie introduced to me Uncle Fred. Ellie's mother got up and headed to the door with Uncle Fred. She yelled to her husband, "Don't wait up, honey." Ellie's father didn't look at her or say anything when Ellie's mother and Uncle Fred left. Her father came back after they left. I guessed Uncle Fred isn't the mother's brother. I asked about Uncle Fred on the drive home. Ellie said he's not a real uncle. He's her mother's boyfriend. Ellie could remember weekend vacations together and dates. Fred was ready to go anywhere and my mother always paid. Ellie said her parents used to fight about that. Ellie's father was upset that he's working so Ellie's mother could pay for Uncle Fred. So not only is she cheating with this other guy, she's paying for everything with his money. I asked why her father doesn't divorce her mother. She said her mother wants to remain married. Why does her father put up with this? Ellie thinks her mother has something on her father. He's got a job with a sensitive security clearance. If she does have something on him, he could lose the security clearance and his job. I looked at Ellie waiting for her to tell me she's kidding. Ellie shrugged. I knew about her parents before I married Ellie. I should have run for the hills. Anyhow, let's get back to Ellie's F-up. My job is not 9 to 5. I stay at work late a lot. It was late last Monday night when I watched the video for my camera. Ellie was cooking but talking to Karen on her cell phone. She had her cell on the counter and was talking with the speaker on. While she fixed dinner, Karen was crying, of course. She was told that Ken was dating one of his coworkers. Ellie asked how Karen knew that. Karen said he's been coming home from work, showering, dressing up, and going out. When Karen asked him where he's going and when he'll be home, he tells her it's none of her business. Ellie asked Karen what she knew about the coworker. Was she married? Karen says she looked at his phone to see who it was. She remembers meeting her at work functions. Karen thinks the coworker was with her husband, but it was a while ago. Ellie said that Karen should try to find out if she's still married. Karen said that when he got home from work just now, he told me he's planning to bring a guest home to spend the night on Friday. He wouldn't answer any questions. He just told me to take the kids to his parents to stay overnight with them. He told Karen she should stay with Ellie for the night or stay in her room. He's in the shower now. Karen has his phone and is looking at his text. They've been seeing each other almost every night for the last 10 days or so. Ellie asked Karen if she sees a text saying anything about her having a husband. Karen said no. She's just looking forward to a fun time Friday. Ellie said that he's crazy to date a coworker. Ellie did once and almost didn't survive it, but it's probably nothing serious with Ken's coworker. It'll fade on its own. Ellie said to find out what the company policy is on employees dating, especially married employees dating coworkers. Karen said the woman works in Ken's department. Karen said the shower stopped and she had to get out of Ken's bedroom. Karen said Ken is going to hate her even more if she threatens him. Ellie said Karen can wait and see if the relationship ends on its own. It probably will, but find out the company policy. Karen can use it down the road if Ken's relationship with a coworker becomes more serious. Regardless, they may be able to threaten Ken with exposure at work and if he went ahead with the divorce plans. Ellie told Karen they had options now. Karen said she felt better, thank you. Karen asked what happened when Ellie did a coworker. Did it become a problem with Ellie's work? Ellie said sort of. Ellie asked Karen if she remembered Ellie talking about a guy named Don. Karen said vaguely. Ellie said Don and her were working on a case together, and they had to go out of town to just depose the litigants in the case. They were alone together and started to hook up while they were away. They continued when they came home until his wife found out. This wife is also an attorney at their law firm. The wife waited for Ellie after work in the parking garage. Karen asked what did Ellie say to her. Ellie told Karen it wasn't so much what she said. Ellie said the wife punched Ellie, knocking her down. She got on top of Ellie, grabbed her hair in one hand, and punched her again. She pulled Ellie's head in her face and told her if she ever saw her husband again, she would hurt her again. The wife got off Ellie and kicked Ellie twice. Ellie said that it was the end of the affair. Karen asked why Don's wife didn't get Ellie fired. Ellie said they would have been fired if the managing partner had found out about the affair. The wife couldn't get Ellie fired without also getting her husband fired. That was almost a year ago. No more work affairs. Too dangerous. Ellie was so bruised and sore she had to take time off work. Ellie told me she tripped down the stairs at work and fell. Ellie told Karen that I wanted to stay home to take care of her. Ellie said I am a really wonderful husband. So guys on camera, My wife admitted to having an affair with a coworker and by names. There's video evidence that she broke her company's rules. When I asked Ellie if she slept with anyone I knew, she made a point saying that she never slept with a coworker. The firm she works for doesn't allow coworker relationships, especially if employees are married. Ellie had tried to throw me off the scent. I called my attorney and said we had to meet. When we met, I told him what I discovered and how I discovered it. I asked, can I legally record Ellie in my home without her knowledge? My attorney asked where the cameras were hidden, and I told him. He said that's legal in this state. I don't need the consent from the other party. Don't let Ellie tell me it's not legal. The lawyer continued, if I have a camera in the bathroom, take it out immediately and destroy any of that footage. I told him I didn't put cameras in the bathroom or the bedrooms. I asked him, can I use footage of her talking about her affair with a coworker, and he said absolutely. I also asked, if I give footage to her HR of her admitting to an affair with a married coworker and she's fired, will that mean I'll end up paying her alimony? He said not if she's fired for cause. She told me her firm is very strict about coworker affairs, particularly if they're cheating on their spouses. Ellie probably has a morality clause in her contract. He said he has such a clause in his contract. It's pretty standard. If she's fired because she breached the professional requirements of her firm, that's on her. He continued, it's like if you were fired for misconduct by your employer and then demanded unemployment insurance because you're out of work. It's your fault. Ellie's not getting alimony because she destroyed her own career. The attorney asked how was it going for her coming around to divorce. I said, it's not. He then said use the footage, just be careful. Don't directly say, if you don't agree to divorce and leave the house, you'll give the footage to her firm. Just tell her what you have. Let her fill in the blanks. She'll tell you she doesn't want you to give it to her HR, and she doesn't want to get fired. The lawyer said, believe me, you won't have to give the video to her HR. She'll move out and go ahead with the divorce. She won't want to give up her law career. The legal community here is very tight-knit. Everyone will know why she was fired. She'll never get a job with another firm. He was right. Ali's identity was locked up with her being an attorney. I told him to file a divorce agreement. He asked what I wanted to do about the house. I said I'm gonna buy her out. Maybe I'll buy the furniture as well. When I got home that night, Ellie was in the kitchen cooking dinner. I told Ellie that we needed to talk. Stop what she's doing, we can talk. I guess she thought that I was ready to give in. To talk about reconciliation, so she was smiling and quickly sat with me. I told Ellie that I wanted a divorce. I will never reconcile. She has to respect my wishes and move out. She's never been faithful to me, and I will never forgive her. She should leave, and we should just get on with it. Ellie was disappointed I wasn't giving in to her wishes and started crying. You probably think by now, of course she did. She said she loves me. She's not the same person as she was. She is sorry for her past behavior. She'll never cheat again. She would do whatever I want to prove that to me. She will never agree to divorce. She loves me too much. I just need to give her a chance to prove that to me. I'll never find anyone who loves me as much as she does. She stopped crying and said that she's not going to discuss divorce. She got up and started back to the kitchen to continue making dinner. I said out loud, well, I tried the reasonable way. Now it's time to take the gloves off. I asked Ellie what her managing partner would do if he knew about her affair with Dawn. She stopped in her tracks. She looked at me with horror in her eyes. She said, who's Dawn? What am I talking about? I asked, how is Dawn's wife? I understand she is a big fan of yours. She said nothing, just looked at me alarmed. I told Ellie that taking depositions must have been a real turn-on. Couldn't help herself with Dawn. Ellie said that I'm recording her conversations and that's illegal. That I have to destroy anything I have immediately. I told her nope. It's not illegal in this state and I don't need her consent to record her. I asked her what she thought I should do with the video of her talking about if they were done. She said I better destroy the video. She'll sue me. I just started laughing. I couldn't help it. Ellie turned beet red. She was furious. Nobody laughs at Ellie. I heard Ellie tell people she was going to sue them many times for a joke. Now it's me she's going to sue. I then asked Ellie if she wanted to reconcile with me or sue me. Did she really think suing me would get me to want her back? I started laughing once again. Ellie opened her mouth to say something and then closed it. Ellie with nothing to say. Another first, I told her. I guess she was trying to think of something to say that would stop me from laughing at her. A real comeback that would put me in my place and shut me up. Finally, she said I trapped her in a motel in Santa Fe. That's unlawful imprisonment. She could put me in prison. I better destroy all recordings I have of her. I told her go ahead, file a complaint. I'd love to hear her in the stand explaining what she was doing in Santa Fe. I could see the headlines now. Wife left naked in hotel room after husband discovers her infidelity. That's an article that would get a lot of clicks. I'm sure Ellie's law firm will just be thrilled at the publicity. Great career move, Ellie. I told her she's not filing any charges against me. Ellie again had nothing to say. She started crying. I guess the fallback position is if you have no response to cry. I sat there and watched her cry. She looked at me pleading. She doesn't want to lose her job, her career. I told her I don't care about her job. I want her to agree to divorce and want her out of here. She was really crying now. I just watched and she got up and went in her room. I thought in my head, I was hungry. I should have waited until Ellie finished cooking dinner to have this talk. Man's got to eat. She came out of her room after about 2 hours. She asked what I want the divorce agreement to be. I told her we split everything 50-50. I would buy her share of the townhouse and the furniture. No alimony. She told me she'd think about it, but she wants the townhouse free and clear. I should give her the townhouse. I told her nope. Everything's 50-50 and she sells me her share of the townhouse. She's not getting anything more. She has to move out of the townhouse and she has to do it quick. We would get 3 appraisals for the townhouse. I'll pay her half the appraisal average. Ellie went back to her room. It's funny that 2 days ago, I thought seriously about giving her the townhouse in exchange for her agreeing to the divorce. Not anymore. Listening to my lawyer telling me to be patient paid off. The next morning, I was ready to leave for work when she came out of her room. She said she needed to get a family law attorney. I said fine, but she has to make arrangements to move out. She says she would talk to a lawyer that night. Ellie then called her firm to say she'd be late, that she had an appointment with her attorney. That night, while waiting for Ellie to get back and tell me about what her attorney said, I got some takeout pizza and was eating in the kitchen. Out of nowhere, there was a banging at the front door. It was Ken. I had not spoken to him in a while. He's not been very friendly to me since finding out I'm the father of his oldest child. So I let him in. He asked if I found this all amusing. Screwing his wife and getting her pregnant. It must have been fun for Ellie, Karen, and me to hide our game from him. I said, hang on, bro. I knew nothing about this. I certainly wouldn't willingly participate in this madness. What kind of a man smiles to his face and then proceeds to sleep with his wife? He said we must have laughed and laughed when I got Karen pregnant. Did it make me feel more of a man by doing his wife? I must laugh every time I see him with his daughter. What a fool he's been. He said Karen, Ellie, and me are despicable people. He was standing in front of me yelling. I said, whoa, sit down and let's talk. He clenched his fist and glared at me. I took a step forward. If he was going to take a swing at me, I wanted him to do it when I was expecting him. I said, Ken, just sit down. You're wrong about all this. I stepped forward again and he stepped back and fell back on the couch. He put his hands over his face. I told him again that I found out that Karen and Ellie were switching husbands 5 minutes before he did. I did not know what they were doing. Why did he think I knew? He said Karen and Ellie are saying all this. He said he doesn't understand why his wife hates him so much. That she would agree to play him like this. I told him again I didn't know. Why would I be divorcing Ellie if I knew? Why would I force Karen to tell him? To tell him not just about the husband switching, but about the twin adventures with my 2 employees. Why did it stop when Karen got pregnant if I knew? It wouldn't matter that Karen and Ellie were no longer identical. He knows I'm not sleeping with his wife right now. I haven't since Karen got pregnant. He's wrong to think I knew about any of this. I told him that Karen and Ellie just want to divide us. Soon they'll be telling you it's all my fault. That Karen was forced to do this by me. I told Ken that Karen and Ellie knew he was seeing a coworker. They were planning to threaten him with exposing their affair to get him to take Karen back. He looked at me and said, you always know what they are up to, don't you? Ever since the beginning. I didn't expect what happened next. He got up, opened the front door, looked at me and said F you. Then he left. I thought to myself, poor guy. His wife was cheating on him. His daughter isn't his, and he has 2 harpies driving the knife in as deep as they can. As often as they can. When Ellie walked in after her attorney meeting, I asked her what she was telling Ken. I know she is telling Ken that I knew about the game all these years. She denies she's been doing that, of course. She's always tried to hide my role in this from Ken. I asked what role. I had no role. She just smiled. She knows I'm recording. I told her she was despicable for letting Ken believe I was sleeping with his wife and got her pregnant to humiliate him. Maybe of all the horrible things she's done, this is probably the worst. Ellie asked if we could talk. I told her I'm not going to talk to her until she tells Ken the truth. I didn't know anything about their game. I told her if she was concerned about the cameras recording her, she can go outside to call Ken. I won't talk to her again unless she does that. She said she'd think about it. This girl's a character. She said she talked to her attorney. Did I want to hear? I just kept climbing the stairs and she said okay, she'll call. She went outside and I went out with her. She said she'll talk to her sister, not Ken. She'll tell Karen to talk to her husband. She called Karen and told her that Ken has to be told it's not true, that Phil knew nothing about the game. Tell him Phil knew nothing, that he's innocent. Karen should call Ellie back when she's talking to Ken. Ellie and I went back inside. I asked what her attorney said. She gave me the attorney's card for my attorney to contact. The attorney wasn't from Ellie's law firm. I asked why she didn't use the family law attorney at her firm, and she said that the family law attorney at her firm was Don's wife, the same wife who kicked her ass in the parking garage. I couldn't stop laughing. Karen called Ellie back while I was laughing at Ellie. Ellie answered and told Karen not to say anything, just answer her questions. Did Karen talk to Ken? Yes. Did he believe Karen? Karen said he doesn't believe anything Karen says, but Karen will keep telling him the same thing. Ellie said okay and hung up. Nothing incriminating for the cameras. I guess there's nothing I can do right now about Ken. It'll make it hard for me to have a relationship with my daughter. I asked her when she's moving out and you will be so shocked. She started crying. She said she didn't want a divorce. She loved me. She understands she behaved horribly and hurt me, but she thinks we can get through this together. She'll never hurt me again. She'll do whatever I want to make me comfortable. She will get help with her obvious problems. We can work this together. I told her the only thing we're doing is getting a divorce. I asked when is she leaving. She asks why she has to leave. I told her I had done nothing wrong. I shouldn't be punished for her bad behavior. We're divorcing because of her actions. Besides, I don't trust her not to wreck the place. Ellie asked where I expected her to go. I said that's not my problem. Maybe Don's wife has a spare bedroom. They can hang out together. She said okay. She'll leave. She'll stay with her parents until she finds a place of her own. Ellie signed the divorce papers and moved out yesterday. She moved to her parents' house. We're waiting on the appraisals for the townhouse. The waiting period here for a divorce to be final is 1 year. Our divorce should be final after that year. Ken and Karen still live together. Ken is evidently paying Karen for housekeeping and handy services, probably to make her feel like she's just his employee and not his wife. They're still divorcing. I don't know what happened with the woman from his work. It's probably better to wait until his daughter is older to begin a relationship with her. I don't have any choice. I still have the plane ticket with Karen's name that Ellie used to leave Santa Fe. Ellie destroyed my marriage and Ken's family because of their games. Ken hates me and I've done nothing wrong. He hates that I'm the father of his daughter. I can't imagine how complicated his relationship with the daughter is going to be. That concludes Phil's story, everyone. I looked for more and found that Ken responded in with his perspective, and so did the father-in-law. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear those stories. All of this is nuts. Please subscribe to the channel and please like the video. It helps out our team so much. Thank you, everyone.